This is Tyron, the chosen one, Woodley, UFC welterweight champion of the world, and you are listening to Outside the Cage.
This is Ike Feldman and Pete Hoffman, and we are joined right now. Dean Thomas, the best organization in MMA, American Top Team. And we have Dean, one of the co-trainers, a former UFC fighter, and the trainer of Greg Hardy.
Beat Matt Serra's ass.
Oh, that?
Yeah. Well, no, listen, no.
Whoa.
Hold on, wait a minute, because somebody gonna hear this, and I know it's gonna come back to me. I didn't beat his ass. I won the fight. I can say that I won the fight.
But Dean, thanks so much for joining us right now, man. And it's been a really successful 2018, and 2019 is going to be just as good for you guys. Looking forward to a lot of fights. Tyron Woodley jumping back in the cage. Looking forward to his fight versus Usman, which, there's been controversy about who Woodley was supposed to face.
Oh, yeah.
Covington was the easy choice, but then they went the exact opposite. They went to Usman. But how's Woodley doing these days? How is he feeling? Is he feeling a little bit more respected than normal?
Well, I think it's not necessarily that he feels more respected. I think he just doesn't care whether he's respected or not because he's grinding. He's doing his thing. He knows he's the champ. He knows he's one of the best ever. He's accomplished that. Now I think he's looking at other, he's doing other things, a lot of other things. He spent 2 weeks in Hawaii filming Hawaii 5-0.
Hanging out,
and he's been training with Max Holloway. So I think I think that's more what he's trying to get into now. It's like he don't care what anybody thinks about him anymore. He was wasting too much energy on that. So now he's taking his energy, he's acting, he's rapping, he's got all this stuff going on. So I don't even think he cares.
Does he doesn't have a end of his career anytime soon? Like we see DC, who's like, all right, I'm hanging him up very soon. Got maybe one more fight left in me. UFC's probably going to get 2 or 3 more out of him. But like Woodley, does he have any idea of like what his career path is going to be? Clearly, he has so many other things going on. But I mean, does he want to fight that much longer?
Yeah, he still likes to fight, and I think that's what it is. Like when he doesn't like to fight, he's not going to fight no more.
Right. Yeah.
But I think he still likes to fight. He's already proved he's the best in the world, but I think he wants to make that statement that he's the best ever. So I think that's his goal now. Once he makes that, then I think he's done. And if you think about it, it's only a couple more fights before then he can say that. Like like once he beats Usman, then I guess maybe Colby. I mean, who else? Like he's beating all them other guys. Like who else?
GSP, man.
Well, listen, GSP is not coming back. GSP is not coming back. And the longer the longer he waits, the worse it's going to be for him because he's not getting no younger. He's not getting
cut to 55.
Yeah, he's not getting no younger. And I mean, let's be honest here. Like GSP stopped fighting because he took shots from Johnny Hendricks.
Yeah,
Tyron Woodley is he's a different animal than Johnny Hendricks. So like, if he thought what Johnny brought to the table was something, he's not coming back to fight Tyron.
Does Tyron say that in the gym? He's like, GSP doesn't want it. He's like, he doesn't want to come back.
Well,
he's trying to jump me. He's trying to look for Bisping for an easier fight. Does he acknowledge that GSP?
But I mean, we've said it before. I mean, and I don't want to make it sound bad like GSP's running from him, but it just doesn't make sense.
1 versus 2 at all times.
Yeah, but it just doesn't make sense for GSP though. I mean, think about it. It doesn't. Like, would you come back after like a 5-year layoff and face a guy? Well, he had that fight with Bisping, but would you come back and fight a scary dude like Tyron?
Of course not.
No, of course not. So it doesn't really make sense.
But there's not really then what is a fight for GSP then? Because there's no one but scary dudes that he'd go against. I mean,
no, but you got those money fights for him.
Right.
You got the Diaz brothers. You got those guys.
You think he'd come back for them?
I think he would because they're not going to. They not
Nate for UFC 227 in LA. He said Nate wasn't big enough a name for him.
Really? Well, 220. Really?
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. Because Nate has a bigger name than him right now. But I would say he would come back and fight one of those guys because they're not going to hurt him.
No.
Right.
They're not going to hurt him. Like you want to fight a guy like Bisping couldn't really hurt him neither. Like Bisping, he don't really have it. Yeah, it's a safe fight for him.
Patty cakes.
Yeah, it's a safe fight. Tyron Woodley's not a safe fight. It's like GSP might even win. He's got that little Death Squad jiu-jitsu. He might even win, but he going to the hospital afterwards. He going to the hospital for days afterwards. He don't want that.
Right. We talk about, setup fights, not patty cake fights, but just like, easy fights for some newbies. Greg Hardy, he's, in MMA now. He's been training for what, 2.5 years?
2 years, yeah, 2 years, yeah.
First of all, how did you guys come across each other? How did that work that he came to the American Top Team? Because you think about Greg Hardy, is very smart, at the very least, to come to a training group like yourself, because I mean, you guys are the top of the list. So for him to even come to you guys, to approach you guys, that's smart on his.
Well,
end.
his we're really close with his management team, first round management. So like, they brought him to us. They brought us, said, "Hey, you want to train this guy?" And we said, "Sure." This is what we do.
Yeah.
We train fighters. I mean, we got 100 guys right now. We got 50 of them we got about 20 guys living in the dorm. 100 fighters on training here. That's what we do. Bring them in. We could use the bodies.
No, I heard he was one of the guys who was like training 6-7 days a week, doing 2 days and sleeping in the dorm. Like,
yeah,
you really see that, like that pro athlete. Not saying that MMA fighters aren't pro athletes, but to take like that NFL, that crazy nonstop approach that he's bringing over to MMA, that he sees the goal. Maybe some fighters are fighting for their livelihood, fighting to pay rent. We heard the story of Pat Barry. But for Greg Hardy, he's got nothing to lose. Like, he's doing this for the pure competition, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, he has a family now too, so I'm sure that factors in a bit. So he does have a family. He has 2 little kids. So I mean, he's this is his job too. But I learned a lot about football and professional athletes by watching Greg Hardy. They're just different. Right. They're different. They're different than regular MMA guys. Regular MMA guys come up and they're spoiled and they want this and I need pad work and I need this and Greg is like, what do I need to do, coach? You tell me where to be. He's 15 minutes there before I am. He does everything you ask him to do. He doesn't question anything. It's yes, sir, no, sir. And from what I understand, that's from football culture. And there's times where I'm like, Greg, take it easy. Like I'm your home. You know what I'm saying? Like you don't have to treat me like I'm on some different level. Like I'm still Dean Thomas.
Well, you are Dean Thomas.
Yeah.
So you are.
Yeah, but I don't have to. But he's super, super, super coachable, and he just sits there and he just soaks everything in.
And how quick because yes, he's been fighting for 2 years, been training for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
How quick did he get into the cage where you're like, okay, this guy's definitely ready to start some fighting and to even try to get into the UFC? Because that's a 2-year.
Yeah, it happened
period.
So fast.
Did he have boxing experience? Did he have anything else?
No, he didn't. But what he did have was enthusiasm early on. Like he had been watching MMA for a long time before he started fighting, and he told me he always wanted to fight. Even when he played football, he wanted to fight. So his enthusiasm for fighting is kind of what drove him to where he is. And that was great because he wanted to learn. He wants to learn everything. Everything. Like, he's not like, oh, I'm just going to come out there and just punch a guy in the face. Like, he wants to learn all the jiu-jitsu stuff, all the wrestling stuff. So he's working with Steve Mako. I mean, we're working. Yeah, he in there working. So, like, it's a process, but it's also a project for me. So, like, that's what I like the most about it. It's a project for me.
I was going to say physically, the football players, they're geared to just be explosive for 5 to 15 seconds. A lot of the reps are power reps in the gym room, and you got to extend his gas tank and obviously add technique while you're doing that. Has been an easy transition because we haven't seen any of his fights leave the first round.
I know, and that kind of is problematic for me too because it's bad for me to say, yeah, I wish he would fight a little bit longer, but it's kind of necessary. So I have to make sure that we train longer to get him to get that sensation. I need his body to feel what it feels like, so we do it. So I say, and then I'm always, listen, remember what this feels like. Go out there and do it again. Remember how you feel right now. You're tired. But now you have to go back out there and fight, feeling like this. Because you never felt that in a fight. So remember what this feels like. So we get them really, really, really tired. All right, now go perform. Yeah.
And now, working with other fighters and stuff like that, has been any apprehension from any other fighters? Be like, I don't really want to work with him. I mean, listen, Greg Hardy comes with attached with a lot of other things, a lot of other baggage from previous issues. So, I mean, the word on the street is people just
not as everybody's as wise as you.
No, listen. Let me tell you something, man. If you know MMA guys, they didn't even know who he was.
That's crazy.
They didn't know who he was. There's like 3 guys in the gym who know, like Will Brooks, because he played football.
Right.
Yeah, Daniel Jolly, his main training partner, and then that's probably it. Like nobody else knew who he was.
Wow.
Yeah, like MMA guys don't follow football. And then we got, a contingency of Russians and Brazilians.
So
they were just like, oh, a new body, a new sparring partner. Perfect, yeah.
Big boy.
Yeah, that's what it was. And I ain't gonna lie, man, and Greg went through it all, man. He went through the hazing process. I had to pull him from it because I was concerned about him. He went through the hazing process. He wasn't babied. He didn't come in with this like a prima donna, like, oh, yeah, he's he's a big time star. Let's baby him. No, because they didn't know who he was. Junior Dos Santos ragdolled him.
Wow.
Arlovsky busting him up.
And what was Greg's response to that?
Give me more.
Wow.
Greg was used to that. Like, it's like football for him. It was like, that's where like that football mentality switched in for him. Like, boom, I just got blew up in practice. I got to get him back. That's what and I was like, Greg, hold on. We can't do that. You're a heavyweight. That's not safe.
Okay.
We got to slow down a little bit.
Yeah.
So like, that's the process has been for me, is to slow him down a little bit so that it's not like you said, 5 seconds of pure violence. It's more, let's get in the rhythm. Let's have some fun, man. Let's have some fun. Let's have fun beating people up. Let's do it. We can do it for 15 minutes. It don't have to be 5 seconds.
I mean, we see it like, man, he has that scary look, like the Kraken look, as they call them in the NFL, man. But it's like, in practice, does he like? Are you trying to make him flow more and try to relax? Like, because his adrenaline could fall off if he doesn't during the fight.
Yeah, that's true. So I'm always aware of that too. I'm always kind of like, I don't want to pull you too far away from this killer instinct, because as a fighter, you have to have it, because that's when my career went down. When I lost it, I was just out there trying to have fun and trying to, waving at the crowd. Hey, what's happening? And I ain't have it. So yeah, it's true. So I don't want him to lose that. So I'm very delicate with that when I'm like, all right, let's ease back a little bit. All right, now go get him. Yeah. Ease back. Let's find a rhythm. All right, it's open. Get him.
He's very much in attack mode so far. What have we seen? There's been one fight we talked about off there that someone even made an attempt to take him to the ground. He looked pretty good. But this fight going up against Alan Crowder, much smaller opponent. I wrote one of the fights last, I think, versus Walt Harris, I should say. Sorry. Rogan even mentioned that Crowder should fight light heavyweight. He's not a heavyweight guy. So I would think that Crowder's going to try not to stand with Greg and want to take the fight to the ground. Has he impressed you enough, and does he have the skill enough to be able to block attempts, or does his ground game look solid enough at a UFC level?
Yeah, we've worked a lot on that. I mean, heavyweights are – it's like you can hack the heavyweight system. You can. You really can. You can't do it in no other weight. Like, if you have a flyweight, I mean, he has to be good at everything and fast at everything. In heavyweight, you can hack the system.
I know. When I see Verdum's like the best jiu-jitsu guy, still clunky.
And they're clunky. They're clunky, and they're like kind of slow, and you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So you can hack that system. There's a lot of things that you can do to block people and just stop them from getting going. It's when you get lost in that realm of, specialized technique. But when you stop it at the beginning, there's no more technique. You know what I'm saying? You all you need is a couple of inches of space, and then they can't do nothing. So we've covered all those areas.
Can you feel his balance against the cage? I mean, not you specifically. He might throw you outside of it, but can like Junior or Andre, can they feel the difference, like his balance or his base, and like the way he's like maybe pushing their heads down? Do they tell you they're feeling something different?
Oh yeah, I mean, something? You know what it is, like when he's like rolling with guys now, it's just like I'm always watching like I'm watching a scary movie with my hands over my eyes or finger, because he's real he's a powerful guy in them spots. You understand, like, for his entire life as a football player, he's been like moving guys around for a long time, like grabbing guys and moving them around. So in them spots, it's like moving another guy. He's just moving them around. He's not letting them get inside on him. He's got his hands in front of him, and he's moving guys around, and he's so dangerous because he's so quick, elbowing, kneeing from in them spots. I mean, he's dangerous in them spots, man.
So for him to say that he wants a title fight, or he wants to work to build up to have a title
sounds
fight
crazy.
Eventually, I mean, is that far off? Do you see that? I mean, you've worked with the best of the best. You've seen them come through your camps. I mean, in 2 years, has he put that out there that you believe in Greg Hardy?
Yeah, in 2 years. In 2 years. But the problem is, if I say 2 years as his coach, if I say 2 years, and if the UFC hears me say 2 years, they're going to do it next year.
Yeah.
That's the problem. I need 2 years. I can't do it in another year. It's not going to be enough for me. In fact, for him to be in this position now was a little fast for me as a coach. I'm like an overprotective parent. I'm like, we need a little more time.
Sorry,
like,
Ethan. Greg's first right now.
Yeah. Yeah. My son's in here. He's like, "What are you talking about, Dad?" Yeah. But now I'm like an overprotective parent. Like, I would like to work with him more and make sure that he's prepared physically and mentally to go into these challenges against these other guys.
You think he'd be in a better position too if it wasn't like the co-main event to the? Do you think they rush it with that too? I mean, that not for nothing, but UFC wants to throw him out there as fast as possible. They see
Why?
a
I mean,
star.
why wouldn't they? I mean,
No,
why wouldn't
they
they?
see
Yeah.
a star.
co-main
There's,
already.
there's going to be buzz around him no matter what. You
Yeah.
obviously know that's going to come. So they want to throw him out there. Do you think it's like, can we put him on like the undercard prelims? I mean,
I wish I had that power. Like, I wish me and Dana are friends, and I wish I could say, Dana, let's
You guys do a fantastic show together.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you very much. But when it comes to business, it's what they do.
Right.
I train Greg, and what they do is business. And I would never allow Dana to come into my office on the mat and tell me how to train Greg. And for the same reason, I'll never call Dana and say, "Hey, man, this is too fast."
gotcha.
Amazing. Moving back to physically, I look at John and John Kavanaugh and Conor McGregor, and I look at it's the canvas and the painter or a science experiment and his tools. When Conor was training for the Floyd, I think they miscalculated. Every other fight before that's been beautiful calculations. I hate the rabbit punches. I felt like Conor was wasting energy when he was hugging him on the far side hip. Miscalculated that. Before that, John's been on fire. With Greg, 19 sacks in the NFL. Not too many people in history have done that, man. He's literally an elite athlete. Do you feel very confident, or you just because he's your experiment? I'm saying that you're the scientist. He's the canvas.
Yeah.
How do you approach this, man? Because this is literally MMA history that you're dealing with. Right?
Yeah, I know. I realize that too. But like I said, he's an amazing athlete and he's super intelligent. Again, like he's been playing football and he often says to me, people see football players as just like these aggressive, explosive athletes, but to be able to play at that level,
Nobody knows the footwork of a
well,
lineman.
not even that, but like he says, the amount of studying that they have to do. Like they have to remember playbooks, like 25 pages,
Oh, yeah.
and then the next week have to do it again for another team,
Wow.
and they have to memorize every play. So I said, that hit me. I said, we're going to treat this just like that. When this guy comes at you with his hands in this position, this is what you do offensively.
And he's responsible.
Yeah, and this is absolutely. Okay. I say when he comes at you this way, this is how we handle that. This is the play for that. So it's just about communication. You got to be able to communicate with your fighters and make sure that it works. And the only thing that ever scared me about Greg too is that he is so explosive and is so fast. Is that like I'm just like, dude, you can move forward faster than any human being I know. Just don't run into a punch when you do it. You know what I'm saying? Just don't run into a punch because you will knock yourself out if the guy accidentally hits you.
That's true.
Yeah.
True.
And then on a personal level too, like has he shown any signs of discussion at all, of talking to you? Any sort of I don't want to say. Is he fully confident in this mission that he has? Is there any sort of talk about his past, that he's a little nervous? Because I mean, we all have nerves. I've read something about Cowboy recently saying that one of his title fights that he had, he just wasn't ready for it. He was just completely out of it before he even stepped in that cage. Has he talked at all about maybe he's a little nervous getting into that cage at all? Or
No, he hasn't. But he also does a really good job of mentally putting himself in the right position. And the one thing he likes to do, and I never had to tell him to do this, and I always recommend that my fighters do this, and that's before you train, mentally prepare and get yourself in the headspace. Okay. Yeah, I see a lot of guys, they train, they just show up, put some gloves on, do the little crappy warm-up, and then they train, and then they train, and they go home, and they do this every day. And then when the fight comes, they don't know how to prepare themselves because they've never done it before unless they fought before. And if you fight, you only fight twice a year, so you're really not getting into a routine. Okay. But Greg does this before every practice. He'll warm himself up on his own. He'll put his headphones on, and it's almost like he's in the tunnel of a fight. And he does this before every practice. So it's all he has. So he's not going to get nervous because he knows how to stay inside his own head. Yeah, he's not distracted by all this external stuff.
Approach, the 2-minute drills, the 4-minute drills.
Yeah, for sure.
Bang that away.
They bang him out, but he just knows how to get into his own zone and stay in his own head and block out all the distractions.
In his own right, he might be a pioneer in the sense that he can incorporate the athlete like an NBA or an NFL and MLB athletes routine into the MMA thing. Because like we were saying before off the air, the MMA guys I'll just show up, I'll roll around, I'll do my thing.
It's like that, man. It really is like that. But he's different. That's what I was saying. He opened up my eyes to this world of true professional sports. And it's different because, when you're like Greg, he was, when you're talking about NFL teams, like there's millions and billions of dollars in that.
Oh yeah.
In MMA, like most of these guys are dealing with like a couple thousand.
Yeah.
So
20
like
and 20s? I'm like,
yeah.
damn.
So like they're not like real. I mean, they're not like they're and most of these guys have been doing this a couple years. Like Greg has been in athletics, like combat, as far as like football. I'm gonna consider that a combat game. It's a combat game. He's been doing that since he was a young boy. So, man, he's just a different athlete. He really is.
We're looking forward to his fight this weekend, this Saturday, UFC Brooklyn. But to some of the other fighters that you guys have in your camp too. I mean, Amanda Nunes, she beat the living hell out of Chris Cyborg. Never expected that. I thought that it would be a fun fight. I honestly thought Cyborg would win until someone like that, like with John Jones. Excuse me, like a John Jones. Until he has lost, you kind of really can't count him out. Cyborg, besides that first loss of her career, was on like.
I thought Silva was being a Long Island fellow native in Chris Weidman. And then
Yeah. I know what you're saying.
So Amanda not only just to win, but domination. I mean, did you ever expect it? Did you ever see that coming? Knockout, dude.
So here's my thing with that. Like I do the scout. I've scouted all Amanda's opponents since Miesha Tate. And so I scout them, I figure out what they're good at, what they're bad at, and I give them the report, her and like the main coaches who she works with, whoever it may be for the time. And I gave her this one, and I kind of put a disclaimer on it. I was like, don't be mad at me. But Cyborg pretty much does everything well. And there's a reason why she's won 20 fights in a row. I was like, it's hard for me sometimes to comment you guys because you guys are looking for like a lot of weaknesses, and I was like, she doesn't have a lot. Right. Cyborg doesn't have a lot. She's always in good position. She rarely gets hit. She's a monster offensively. I mean, and you can't keep her down. You could take her down, but you can't keep her down.
Right. Well, you forgot her social media presence is coming.
Yeah, it's a little suspect. She need to work on that. That's flaw. No, but so I gave him my report, and I said, well, you got your hands full, and I gave him some ideas of what I thought, and I sat and watched the fight, and I was like, oh, here it goes. Unbelievable. Unreal, yeah.
That last over.
But I know what she's capable of when she's happy.
Yeah. Well, that's the Shevchenko fights. That's the toughest opponent I've seen so far to date with her is that's why they went the distance both fights. Something about Shevchenko gives her a rough time, I guess is the best way of putting it. But everyone else, she really is very confident, has no problem running down her opponent and just beating him up, basically. She's very impressive. She has very few flaws, if anything. The Shevchenko is the only one you go, I want to see her be a little bit more aggressive.
She would, listen, if you told her to take it easy on Shevchenko and you said, Shevchenko is the favorite and she's going to bust you up, you need to take it easy on her, she would smash her. It's the difference with that is that the difference with it, psychologically, like Amanda likes to be the underdog, and when she wants to win, when she wants to smash you, she will. But psychologically, for whatever reason it was, Shevchenko did nothing for her.
Right.
It was kind of like, whatever. I'll just show up.
Nina
I'm just going to show up. Yeah. Oh, man.
Damn.
Somebody hit the dump button.
Oh, he knows the dumps, right?
The dump button, yeah.
Well, not for nothing, though, but leading up to all these fights, the Ronda Rousey fight and the Cyborg fight, there was no talk of Nunes.
Yeah.
That's like the Rousey fight. I was so pissed. I'm like, Nunes just beat the shit out of Miesha Tate. And you're going to disrespect her, and it's all going to be about Ronda Rousey's return. She hasn't talked to anybody in a year. She got her ass kicked versus Holly Holm, and now we're going to talk about Ronda Rousey. I'm like, she's fighting a beast
that was a bad job.
In Amanda Nunes, and I guess that's what drives her. And we're talking about what's the next fight for Amanda Nunes. I said Holly Holm. And now I see on Twitter, now she's saying, that's my next fight. That's who she wants. And I love that.
If she says that,
that's the real
it's a wrap.
challenge.
It's a wrap for her.
That's a real challenge.
If Amanda says, if this is who I want, it's a wrap for them.
Wait. I was saying the winner of this Saturday's main event.
Oh. Listen, that might be might be a pretty good challenge. Yeah.
Can TJ make it to? Well, no, they'd be 135.
Yeah, at 135. Yeah, that might be a real challenge.
Yeah. Oh, no question. Would you ever see that? By the way, I know that's so random, but would you? Because someone asked me that, and I go, "That's never going to happen."
It was probably this idiot.
Could you ever possibly see a 135 between a male and female?
Not really.
Someone asked me that with Cyborg, and I was like,
I mean, it's easy to say that, but there is a big difference, and there's just like mechanical differences, a lot of mechanical differences. And while I do think Amanda can beat guys up, first without a doubt. I mean, I've seen her stop guys in the gym.
What does she walk around at?
She walks around at about 160.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought she'd be like 70.
No, she walks around about 160. And while I've seen her stop guys, and while I've watched Kayla Harrison toss guys around and make some of them cry, they couldn't beat like upper echelon guys. It won't happen.
For entertainment value, though, you don't think that would ever happen in a
no.
UFC event?
No. I don't know what this
I know,
is.
you know how,
Give
you know.
10 pounds
Yeah.
difference.
Listen,
I mean, who knows?
Where this sport is going, like you just never know.
You know, that's something this is something that pisses me off, and I've been talking about this because the John Jones steroid stuff, all right? I can't stand it because we all want to see John Jones fight. Tell me one person out there that doesn't want to see John Jones
for sure.
fight. We all want to see him fight. And I can't trust what he says anymore because in the cage is one thing. It's like I'm turning my, I'm whatever, and then press conference is different. Whatever happens behind the scenes, happens behind the scenes. It's fine.
I love you, but
Brock Lesnar, where you at? Yeah. He's out of control. Yeah, he's out of control.
All this nonsense. What is the solution? Because there's going to be cheaters in sports no matter what. If you went and said, listen, John, you tested positive for steroids. You're going to fight. You're not going to get any money out of this. I'm sorry. But you're going to fight. Good luck. Have fun at it, And then your opponent, whether it's DC or whomever, it's like, hey, not only can you win a lot of money, you also can beat somebody that tested positive for steroids. Is that an extra drive for someone like DC? I mean, I know he wants to beat him clean and fair, but I mean, come on.
I don't know. I don't know about DC. I think the problem with DC is DC doesn't care about John anymore either way.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I think he's past that. I think he says, you know what? I'm okay with losing to this guy. And he's convinced himself. John's kind of right about it. He has convinced himself that it was the steroids. But what DC accomplished after that, despite losing to him, is enough for him to go, you know what? Look what I have and look what you did. You know what I'm saying? And I think that eats at John more than DC.
Yeah.
It eats at John more because I may have knocked you out, but man, I got to watch you carry them two belts around.
It took a while for that mental dynamic to switch.
It has,
was the presser where like I'm with Rogan, like I want Jones to go full heel and be like play the.
He should because it's nothing worse than like him trying to lie to everybody. Like him trying to be something he's not.
Right,
Listen, just be who you are, man. Just
go Colby Covington. Who cares?
Might as well.
Might
as well. Listen, you might as well.
Yeah.
Hey, listen,
Dean's favorite fighter.
Listen, you might as well. But hey, man, listen, I do coke. So what? I don't care. So what? Yeah. So what? Yeah.
Well, that's what he did. I mean, literally, he was that Gustafsson. The first Gustafsson fight or the OSP fight where he said he was out on like a bender like days prior.
Yeah, Gus.
Yeah, I mean, so the guy has literally done it. He's lived that lifestyle. Just add that personality to your
Might as well.
Leather pants, John.
I mean, I don't know if he has like endorsements or anything like that. It doesn't seem like he has. Yeah. If you don't got no endorsements, then you might as well just do it. Hey, listen, this is who I am. Anybody want to party? Yeah.
Commercial. Hey, guys.
There you go.
What fighter in ATT right now do you really is making strides that's coming up? I know was it Perry came through ATT for a little bit.
Well, Perry was with one of the affiliates in Orlando way back in the day, and then he just kind of moved around. He's at another gym in Orlando right now.
Yeah, I like him a lot.
Yeah, me
He's
too.
got a lot of holes in that game, but once he can figure out the ground game a little bit, and
it's
create
probably not gonna
distance.
happen. Yeah,
no,
I doubt it. I think Perry is who he is.
Can you just tell off the bat, like someone walks in, this guy's never going to get it? Like Hardy walks in the door, like this guy's got natural gift. I have no problem working with him. And Mike Perry comes in, like, with the tattoos on the face, like, this guy is just not, it's not going to happen.
It might be, it's not that it won't, it's just probably too late for him. But I will say, so I don't know if you guys are familiar with Alex Nicholson. He fought in the UFC before, yeah. And then he just fought in the PFL.
Yeah.
He's good for, like, him and Perry consider themselves like brothers. But I've known them since they first started. Because they were in my gym in Orlando. Like, I trained them way back in the day. And Alex Nicholson, I said, this guy will never make it. And he did.
Yeah.
I put my foot in my mouth. He made it. But he's like Perry's homeboy. And I didn't think Perry would make it neither. Not because of a lack of skill, because I've always even back in the day. Just he was always in trouble.
Really?
Yeah, I thought like if you were to ask me like where's Mike Perry, I'd be like, he in jail.
I thought that was a shtick.
No,
I really did. I thought that whole 8 Mile story they made up. Like I thought that.
No,
was...
man. When Perry comes out, like he's very tame now. Like when he comes out with that whole thing.
Can he lay down bars?
I don't know if he can lay down no bars, but but he's from the hood, man, and that's his.
Really?
Yeah, for sure, man. And that's his life. That's what he knows. So you got to give him a pass on that. You got to give him a pass. Like he's not acting a role. That's who he is.
A couple of people, when we looked in their eyes, it was Mike Perry and Cody Garbrandt. Like there was no sarcasm, there was no jokes. Like, Cody, we read Cody's book. Like he was stabbed in the leg from his brother. Like they were fighting in the street. Yeah, Cody's crazy. Cody's nuts. Like he really took that beef and the switching camp thing with TJ very serious.
Because like that whole loyalty.
Yeah.
That's a problem for me too, man. I don't really agree with all that stuff. I'm always like, well,
tell us the dirt on Dana and Matt.
no dirt there, but I just I don't like when fighters feel like when they have this like marriage with camps and they can't leave. And I don't agree with that. I think it's kind of silly.
You just say, hey man, do what's best for you.
Yeah,
this might not be the best fit for you.
Yeah, I'm like that. If I'm working with an athlete, right, and I work with him, but I just can't take him no more. I'm just like, man, I think I've given you everything I have, and I can't give you no more. But I know who can. You should go train with them.
Wow.
I'm that way. I'm not like, you got to be loyal to me.
Wow, that's good on you.
Yeah,
though. That's you're better for that.
For sure. And like that's why. And Tyron Woodley, like he's probably the guy I work with the most out of anybody. And there are times where I'm just like, man, we need to find somebody who can figure this out for you. Yeah, I mean that's kind of how like we developed the team now. His boxing coach is from L.A. Duke Rufus is in Milwaukee.
Right.
I'm in Florida. I mean, we just kind of assembled this all-star team. And when I don't have an answer, we got to find it, and we'll bring them in. I'm not married to that. And like when Tyron wants to train with somebody else, I'm like, man, I'll support you either way.
What makes Woodley so great? Like, I mean, obviously, what we see his performance, but like outside of that, like what in when he's training, when he's in there, when he's in the grind, what puts him above everyone else?
He's really confident, extremely confident. Like I don't know if I've met a more confident human being than him. Like he's very confident.
Wow.
He
comes off as very like calm and like cool demeanor.
Yeah, but that's his confidence.
Yeah.
But he's confident. Like you can't tell him otherwise. So he's very confident, and he's also very smart. Yeah, he's very smart, and a lot of people don't realize that how smart he is, and it kind of offends him. That's why he got all offended when everybody goes, "Oh, he's a great athlete," and this, that, and the third. He's like, maybe, but respect the mind, respect the brain. And when people are like, "Oh, getting tired, he's tired," that's he's really just thinking because in fact, he overthinks. He's really thinking. He's overthinking.
That's what I honestly feel with the Colby Tyron matchup. Like the whole there's like a sense of like a race-baited underlying tone or
yeah, man.
Like it's like Tyron's this like unstoppable beast, and Colby obviously hanging out with Trump. It's like, and Tyron's story from Ferguson, man, he's gone through the hell and he's made it back, and he's on top of the world right now. So I think that's like they dropped the ball in that sense. But it's like MMA fans, they're a little too heavy on Tyron. And Tyron fights back. If he wasn't 36 or 37, however old he is right now, I think if it was more mature, he might have leashed back. But thank God that he's older and he's more mature and he's able to deflect a lot of it.
Yeah, well, we talked about that a lot. I mean, he wanted to sometimes. And
sure.
Yeah, he wanted to. And
attack back?
Yeah, get back. But we can't do that, man. That's not the right thing to do. So we had to, calm him down because he is from Ferguson and there's a lot of issues in Ferguson. He is from there. And for all this to be happening around the same time, like him having his career come up at the same time where all this racial stuff is happening. And then when he wins the belt, like everybody, he thought it was going to be so great, but he was getting all this backlash. And he didn't really even come out publicly with it, but he's getting all these messages from fans calling him names. And and it was bad for him, and it hurt his feelings. Like Tyron is a people person, and it hurt his feelings to be the champ, best of the world, and not get the expectation of what he thought it would be. Is like, everybody's going to love me, but it wasn't like that. Yeah.
I was telling you, we need to pump up Tyron. Everybody wants John Jones. I was like, we have a guy who's a great fighter and a role model.
Yeah. Well, that's why I thought they dropped the ball in the Colby Covington fight, because like that fight sold itself.
Yeah.
That was the race war about to happen. You know what I'm saying? You had to pick a side after that. Yeah. And they dropped the ball on that, man. That fight would have been great, man.
Did it split the gym up at all?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Is the facility that big?
It's that big, and Tyron doesn't come around that much anyway. So it's all like Tyron comes in. Yeah, Tyron be in L.A. Yeah, so Tyron doesn't come around that much anyway. Kobe is always in the gym. I think the stuff with Brazil when it happened was more, it was a lot worse. Like there was Brazilians in there that was kind of like, wait till I see him.
You see they robbed the UFC staff, right? Did you see that when they came back for the May UFC, whatever that Amanda Nunes Raquel fight?
Yeah.
They thought that maybe they misinformed. They thought that Kobe was going to be in that UFC like staff.
Oh,
They robbed the staff. And he
yeah.
did make a joke. He's like some of the stuff he is say is pretty good. He's like, man, these guys don't even have internet. They didn't know that my fight got moved to Chicago.
Well, listen, I'm gonna say this too. Like when it happened, when Kobe said what he said about Brazil, I was like, man, how could you say that? How could you call it? But I will say this too. When I was in Brazil, I did not leave the hotel. I ain't leave the hotel. I left the hotel to get me a coconut water across the street in the morning, and it went right back into the hotel.
Just tell them you're Dominican.
Yeah. Yeah, and I look like them. You know what I'm saying? I'm not leaving the hotel.
Dean Thomas, by the way, at Dean Thomas on Twitter. One thing I wanted to, you talked about like Woodley, he didn't want to attack back at people after he won the belt. He's not that type of person. He can't do that. You know, Khabib Nurmagomedov, we saw him so humble prior to the outlash after he beat Conor, jumping out of his cage. We talk about there's so many other fighters or trainers, and it's like Khabib was the guy that you kind of want to be almost be a role model.
So close.
And then he lost it. Like I'm sure Tyron is like that. Like he wants to lose it, but you guys pull the straps. Like no, you can't. I mean, you look at Khabib and go, did he screw that up bad? I mean, how do you look at Khabib now? Do you go, he's just a typical,
Nah, I mean, I think you got to give Khabib a pass on that. And here's why. Because, when you win a fight, like, I don't know if you guys have ever fought before, been in a cage before. Okay, so you've been in a cage before, and there's something that happens to you after you win. There's, like, this moment of, like, this energy that surrounds your body after you win a fight. It's the reason why Chuck Liddell would do the scream. It's the reason why guys jump on if something happens to you. And everything that led up to that fight, all the training, all the talk, everything that led up, Conor McGregor, all of it led up in Khabib. And when that happened, he didn't scream like Chuck Liddell. He jumped over. And it's almost like, I could almost say temporary insanity. You know what I'm saying? There's just something you cannot control your body the moment after you win a fight.
And you
kind of, you almost, and that's what I'm saying. You almost got to say, I get it, man. Like as a fighter, I get it. I know what it feels like right at that moment, right after the fight. And then to see that guy on the side, talking, and I'm going to get him. Yeah. And it's almost temporary insanity.
And it's funny, too, because it's not like Conor hasn't jumped out of the cage and attacked Jose Aldo before.
Yeah.
He knows where the security is, so he's not going to get, he's never going to actually get to Jose Aldo.
Yeah, listen, Conor McGregor is the best I've ever seen with that. He went right here at Madison Square Garden when he fought Eddie Alvarez. We were in the back. It's right before the weigh-in. Tyron Woodley's right before him.
Yes.
And I remember, and he released a video that I remembered it.
Right when they were like, they were saying something.
No, this was. So he walks by and they stare at each other for a little bit, and he keeps going. Then the security guy gets in between them. Then he goes, "What'd you say? Say something. Say something. Yeah." I said, Tyron, man, just turn around, man. We fighting Wonder Boy, not this guy.
Tyron looked like Gandhi.
Yeah. He's like, I said, man, don't worry about this.
Okay,
guy.
so we saw what Conor could do against Khabib, which is not much. What could Tyron do against Conor?
What could Tyron do against Conor?
Yeah, I mean,
I think what we saw Tyron do against Till is very similar to what he would do against Conor. But it'll be easier because remember when Tyron grabbed Darren Till in the first round and he put him up against the fence.
He was so short though. You saw him.
Yeah, I know. I know. It was like a little kid hugging his father. But he would have took Conor down at that moment and then finished him.
Yeah,
he would have took him down and finished him.
So, but would that be ever an actual fight that Tyron would want to take? I mean, that's a money
absolutely,
fight,
absolutely. I think Tyron, if he ever got that fight, that would be it for him. He would be like, all right, I'm taking my $20 million and I'm out. Yeah.
Done.
Yeah.
Wrap it up.
Yeah.
Wow. That's
yeah, I think that would be that put a button on his career.
Is he the golden ticket? Is Conor like the golden ticket right now? If you can get an opportunity with Conor, that's the way to go. Like, I mean, people he's not going to fight that often. He's going to fight maybe once a year now. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
we don't even know when if he's going to be suspended for a while, Connor.
Paulie's next.
He's going to go.
That might happen. That might happen. That might happen.
Watch.
Did you see the video with Paulie?
Yes.
That was hilarious
With the
because
bring your balls.
yeah. So, what I found funny about that, and they cut it off at the end, but like Paulie and him are talking face to face, and then Connor leaves, and all the cameras go at him, and then you just see Paulie standing there by himself.
Yeah.
I was like, how? And then but they cut it off real fast, but you just saw it, and it's just like that image, the optic of that to me was like, well, that's what he's reduced to. He's by himself, and everybody's with Connor.
That'd be a fun press tour.
Yeah, it would
they
be. It
would
would be.
sell the hell
It
out
would
of
be. But I think, but you're right. Like everybody wants to fight Connor because that's where the money is. And if you look at it, like win, lose, or draw, like you look at Al Aikens, like all these guys, they just want to fight Connor.
Yeah.
Dustin Poirier, he wants that rematch.
Yeah.
But what they really want is that the buzz, and that's going to do a lot for their lives. They realize that.
It's true. That's what it was, like the Ronda effect, and there's the
Yeah,
Conor
for sure.
effect.
You want that.
It's amazing. My last thing, man. You obviously do Looking for a Fight. You guys still doing this, putting this out? I'm sorry if I'm not up to date on it.
Nah, we were supposed to film a couple of weeks ago,
Okay.
and that was actually where Greg he was on that card, but then he pulled him off the card.
The island
But
fight.
yeah, island fight. So yeah, we were
cool.
supposed to film a couple of weeks ago, but Dana, he got hurt and he was sick or whatever, and
Dana's training for what is that? Oscar De La
yeah, he
Hoya?
might be. Yeah, I think he was in training for Oscar. So, but they pulled it, and but I think that I know Dana loves doing the show. He's just the most important man in MMA. So it's hard to lock him down for 3 days to just clown around with me and Matt. I mean, if you think about that, like all he does is clown around with me and Matt. Like he takes himself out of the business for 3 days to clown around with us.
No,
So,
I appreciate you.
I love it, but like it's not really good for business, probably.
It's awesome, man. You're a personality. Matt's a personality, and you guys make Dana a personality. Like him doing the stand-up was wild. I was like, this is a guy who has like their careers in his back pocket, and he's up there doing comedy.
I'm still mad at him for that though.
What the? I don't remember the exact jokes. Was this
No,
something
but he had Tony Hinchcliffe write his jokes.
Oh.
Yeah, so I'm mad at him for that because he had Tony Hinchcliffe write his jokes, and me and Matt had like 3 days, not even. We had like
You had to come up with your own shit.
I had to come up, yeah. I had to come up with my own jokes.
That's what happens when you sell the company for $4 billion.
I know.
He
He hired a guy to write his jokes.
Ghostwriter.
Yeah.
called Joe Rogan. Come on.
I know, man. But I mean, thank God it worked out.
Yeah. Well, I guess you kind of answered. I was going to say, well, is there anything else you could take us behind the curtain with El Presidente Dana White that you picked up on that the public may not know about?
All right, so the only thing I have to say about him that people don't realize is that he's a really, really nice guy, and he cares about the fighters more than what people think. Like if you look on his page, it's man, pay the fighters more. You shit on this guy. Can I say that?
Sure, I think of course a few times.
Okay, all right. Yeah, so but he's not really like that, man. Like he really cares about all the fighters. Like he does a lot of stuff behind the scenes. And he's the only guy I've ever seen take pictures with everybody who asked him. Like I've never seen him turn a picture down. He was eating and people come up to him and he sits and talks to him. He takes pictures with everybody. So in public, he's a lot different than what he comes across like in front of the cameras.
He's giving us time of day, which is pretty good too.
Yeah.
Like he's answered the question. Sometimes he's a little bit aggressive if he doesn't like your approach. I've noticed that. I can understand it, but
because he's dealt with sticklers. That's
Yeah,
why
yeah,
like,
he's dealing with
Helwani
he
pisses me off. I'm like, I'd rather just get loose with the guy and get to know him. Like,
Yeah.
Helwani at the presser, he was asking about Max Holloway versus TJ for his next fight, and he goes, I don't know, we'll see what happens. He goes, but TJ wants this and the flyweights, and he kept going. Like, I was like, it's uncomfortable.
Yeah,
And you
yeah.
can understand why Dana comes across as very defensive.
Yeah, and like you can't. That's the thing is you can't. Like he realizes what he's done to the sport. Like he took it from nothing. Like if it really wasn't for like that, like what he's done in the last 20 years, like none of us would be here right now.
True.
So and he realized that. He knows that. He's riding his own coattails.
True.
So he knows that. So he's like, I'm not gonna let anybody, take this from me and make me subservient to anybody. So he knows that.
and he's definitely he wants to be the face of MMA. He wants to see it continue. But how long does he have left?
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Retiring inside of this ESPN era.
That's what
I
everyone
keep
keeps
saying.
saying.
it.
Yeah, I think so.
hearing
I think so
rumors.
too. I think so too. But it's probably a good time because with ESPN, I think that does a lot for the sport in terms of professionalism and just being able to bring it to an audience in a professional way and have an audience understand MMA better. And they don't need Dana to do that.
Right. What else could Dana actually do? He got you on ESPN. He made you listen, the sport coming to New York helped it soar. But I mean, it's been legitimized now for a long time. Getting on ESPN, that's basically the pinnacle. You
Yeah,
can't really
yeah,
do
yeah,
much
yeah.
more than that.
Yeah.
So it'd be a time to step out. But again, who would take over? Who's the next in line? You know, that's the other thing too.
Would you ever, Dean? Would you ever step into a corporate office?
Absolutely not.
Man, you're too smart.
I'm
You're
trying to
leaving it
film
on the
looking for.
Mets.
I'm trying to film looking for a fight. So when Dana leaves, we gonna be looking for a fight.
We're
Yeah,
gonna forget these 3-day adventures. We're going out for fucking months.
yeah.
That'd
One
be
last
cool.
question I have for you, because I've never asked a fighter because I'm always too scared about it.
Uh-oh.
When you go to a fight, when you're approaching your fight leading up to, do you listen to people? Do you see the odds? Do you take that into favor? Do you hold it accountable to somebody that picks against you?
No, I don't. A lot of fighters do this. I'm always careful. I'm always like, because I in my position, I do a lot of radio, and I'm kind of a mouthpiece, and I have to pick fights. So sometimes I have to be careful. I'm always kind of like, I hope he didn't hear that.
Yeah.
In fact, Matt Serra called me out because I had said that it's gonna be tough for Donald Cerrone to beat a guy like Khabib,
Yeah.
And then Matt Serra called me out on that in front of Donald Cerrone, and I was kind of like,
Yo, Donald.
yeah. He's like, remember what you said? I was like, oh
Did you
man.
do your impression when I heard I'm Rogan?
I lost it. I got to be in the mood for it. I lost it. It's one of the things I got to be in the mood
Gotta have
for.
a cannoli
Yeah,
first.
I got to be in the mood for that. But sometimes I have to. But as of me personally, I never did that because I was always honest with myself about where I was. And I'm even honest now with fighters that I work with. I'm always kind of like, listen, we gonna go to. I won't tell them that, but in my own head, I'll be like, it's kind of tough. It's a tough
Right.
fight. But I won't tell them that.
You
But
can't
I'm
lose it.
very honest. And me personally, as a fighter, like if somebody told me, man, you're gonna get beat by this dude, man, you're probably right.
The craziest
Probably right.
example of that I've seen, honestly, like I would never bring this up to Matt or Ray or his team. When Al was fighting Lee just a couple of weeks
Yeah.
ago, everybody's walking out to the Sopranos theme song. Obviously, it's game time. It's stone face walkout. This is the first time I've seen a fighter, and he goes, Ray, let's go. Like, he was trying to, like, pump up his guys. He was like, he looked in their eyes. He was like, are these guys on my side? He's like, I felt like that night he was the only one that knew he was going to win.
Yeah,
The odds were stacked
dude,
against Al.
I'm scared to see Al because I actually picked against him. I don't want to say he might remember that, but you're right. I think everybody kind of like you. Everybody thought Al would lose.
Yeah.
You
It's the
thought,
first time
yeah.
I've seen him pump up the coaches. I
Yeah.
was like, wait, it's supposed to be reversed.
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
like,
I thought he would, but I'll say this too, man. Like Matt Serra's crew, there's never been a crew like that have been underdogs and beat those odds.
True.
Right.
Matt,
Like there's
Chris,
something
Al.
there's something about his crew that he's able to pump these guys up to have this belief in themselves that they can win at all times. And even when they lose, man, you can't count them out. You can never count those guys out.
Did you give Al if he had a second chance against Khabib, full training camp? Did you
Yes.
give him a chance?
I'd have to. You'd have to give him a chance. I think the world would give him. You'd have to. How could you not? Like he fought this guy without a camp and
5 rounds.
yeah, and fought him 5 rounds. How could you not?
Best ever.
Yeah.
Didn't even train for like that special double that he does
Yeah.
where he kicks out the leg, and he still got up.
Honestly, I might like if you were to make that fight happen. I might even say Al could win that fight.
I agree.
Here's I'll
Gotta
tell
do
you
one
why.
more probably, right?
He's what?
Before he's got to probably do one more before.
Yeah, I think Al matches up pretty well against him. Like if you think, if you look back at Khabib's fight against Gleason Tebow, I don't care what nobody says. I thought Gleason Tebow won that fight. But so like go back and watch that fight. I thought Gleason Tebow won, but Al could fight like that.
Right.
Al has the ability to do
Gleason
that.
was tagging him.
No, just he was out wrestling him.
Yeah.
Oh wow! I can
Yeah.
check that out.
Yeah, Al can wrestle. Al can wrestle.
That's a skill set.
Yeah, he
That's
can
a-
wrestle.
yeah.
He's not. Yeah, he can wrestle, and he's a better boxer than Khabib.
Oh, yeah.
So
That's the one thing about Khabib that lacks. That's why Conor was like, oh, if he could tag him once before if they stand up, and he could just tag him properly, but never had that opportunity.
Yeah.
Miscalculated. But
Yeah.
you won't miscalculate because this Saturday, Greg Hardy fights
Yeah.
Alan Crowder. We're joined by Dean Thomas. Dean, thank you so much for the
Yeah,
time.
man. Awesome. Thank you so much for everything.
thank
man.
you, fellas. I appreciate you.
Seriously, what project you working
Oh
on?
man,
with
see
the-
my man. Thank God. Listen, I need no man. Listen, I want everybody to go out and check out my new thing I got going on. It's an online BJJ course called Train BJJ Online.
Oh, that's easy.
Yeah, so trainbjjonline.com. Check that out. Just trying to keep everybody up to date with all the newest BJJ techniques, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu techniques, and also bringing it back, self-defense, MMA, and sport competition.
Nice,
Awesome.
nice. Do the ladies get to see you in a tight rash guard? Are you wearing a tank
Yeah,
top?
you
What
know,
is-
sometimes, I said I got the little tight stuff on. Yeah. Yeah. And I got my new character, so I do all when I do my self-defense stuff, I do it from a female perspective. So Dean Quisha is the character. Yeah, y'all gonna love it. Y'all gonna love it.
I can't wait. Dean, thank you so much for the time, man. Appreciate
Thank you,
it.
man. Appreciate you.
What's up, guys? This is Daniel Cormier, and you're listening to WFAN's Outside the Cage podcast.